Welcome to day 12 of the Spanish Nerd Workbook. You are either following along with the original Spanish Nerd Workbook or using one of the workbooks that falls under the umbrella of the Spanish Nerd. That happens to include day 12 as well. Either way, welcome. Let's get into this, starting right from the beginning there. The pink words, as always, present indicative. You don't have to memorize that term, but essentially, we're still learning present tense, and we're still talking about something that you believe to be true at the present tense, okay? So we can read here, today is a continuation of the verb lesson from yesterday. You may want to do a brief review of that day's lesson. Before starting this one, we're still practicing the same verbal concept with the same pronouns, nosotros and nosotras. However, today we'll practice them with our 15 key irregular verbs. We have the example sentence. Again, this is not for memorizing necessarily. It's just for getting us in the right mindset to tackle this lesson. So the example is, we're well, or we are well. We are well. What would that be in Spanish? Estamos bien. So essentially here, what we're doing is we're making sentences with the word we, but in Spanish. So we do an action, but present tense, okay? Not future, not past, present tense. We do an action. So using the building block method, you have what you need because you know the 15 key irregular verbs. You know what they mean. You know that we are doing present tense. You are already seeing the patterns here. And notice too that with these irregular verbs on this particular section, the irregularities are really not that crazy. I mean, a lot of them actually don't even seem to be an irregularity, even though these in general are irregular verbs, because you'll find many irregularities with them with other conjugations. But here, Nothing too crazy here, really, except for the word ir almost there at the bottom, IR. So, ir turns into vamos. Ir is always going to be a weird one. That's just how that one is. It's probably the strangest Spanish word. But for the most part, notice these ones aren't too difficult to grasp. You're doing something very similar to yesterday. Notice how it is. Estamos, somos, hacemos, podemos. So go through doing your practice sentences. Try to add at least one or two Spanish words there. Doesn't matter if you're perfect or not. The point is using them. You'll perfect your Spanish with immersion. That's just the way it is. But you do want to be studying these verbs. So it's good to do your practice sentences here. If you want to put in some English words just for the sake of trying to use these, you could say something like, nosotros estamos happy, if you want to, right? So it really doesn't matter. We're just practicing these. I just want you to learn the patterns. If you want to look up some Spanish words that you haven't learned yet, if you want to play around with that, maybe think of some words that you anticipate using this week that I might not be using this week. If that, works for you, if you're planning on doing using your Spanish in a certain situation, maybe look up some of the Spanish words you're going to need. That's just the way it is. And either way, you're going to be having to look up words sometimes. So maybe go ahead and do that, but try to do these practice sentences. Now, if we look at the next page, you're used to this. Basically, these words that would end in ing in English, they don't change. They're the same. The only thing that does change is who is doing it, right? So in this case, you're going to use the word estamos. The example is we are talking, we are eating, we are living. So the we are, or the we're, would be estamos, right? So the we're as in something temporary, right? Don't get that confused with, if you look back at the page before, somos, that's more permanent. That would be like, we are Canadian, or something like that, right? So something that is seen as something more permanent, that would be that. But going back to the page that we are focusing mostly on were the ing words, or the words that would be ing in English, okay? The word you want to take away from this is the estamos. So the estamos, you just add it to all of these blanks here. But I know that lesson, it doesn't really make you think too much because you're just filling in the blank. So, maybe try to make some sentences out of these if you want to. Be creative. Be creative. You can kind of do what you want sometimes too. I'm not trying to keep you guys from being creative and doing some other stuff. Maybe look at these and think, which of these would I might use this week? So yeah, be creative. Definitely think about this. Don't just, go past this real fast, just saying, okay, that's the word, and I'm going to just write it in all the blanks or whatever. Try to do something to commit this more to memory, okay? So let's look at the last part of this day. We have the vocabulary. As always, very important vocabulary. If you haven't coincidentally learned some of these words already, definitely learn them. If you have trouble, use memory aids. Use that formula to memorize these words in a creative way, okay? So for now, stop and immerse your brain, and I will see you in the next video.